The fog rolled in like a slow breath exhaled by the earth, wrapping the world in a silvery hush. Trees vanished into it, their gnarled limbs reduced to vague silhouettes. The gravel path underfoot crunched softly, each footstep swallowed quickly by the dense air. A single lantern swung from the crooked branch of an old oak, its flame a flickering eye watching from the mist. It cast just enough light to remind someone they weren't entirely alone. But that, too, was uncertain. Elias walked steadily, not hurriedly, though every part of his mind urged him to run. He didn't know how long he had been walking, or even when the fog had arrived. He had come out for a simple evening stroll, drawn by the quiet charm of the woods beyond the cottage, but now the world around him had changed. Paths he once knew now bent in strange directions, and trees that once stood proud and rooted felt, listening. Every now and then, he thought he heard his name carried on the mist, just a faint murmur, a whisper, almost. But there was never anyone behind him when he turned. "Elias," the wind said again. He froze. The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't even menacing. It was just familiar enough to make his heart skip. It sounded like his brother's voice. But that was impossible. Jacob had been gone for 3 years now. The last time they were here together, they were boys, chasing frogs and pretending they were knights defending the forest. Elias remembered the laughter, the little arguments, the way Jacob had dared him to spend a night alone in the woods. Elias never took the dare. Jacob did. That was the night he never came back. Elias turned slowly toward the voice, his breath hitching. "Jacob!" he called into the fog. Silence answered. Then a soft rustle, the sound of something moving through wet leaves. He squinted. Nothing but swirls of fog dancing between trees. But the sensation of being watched had sharpened. It was close now, almost beside him. The lantern by the oak began to sway harder, though there was no wind. The flame inside elongated, twitching like it was reacting to something unseen. Then, it whispered again. "Elias." This time it was different. It was coming from above. He looked up. Between the branches, an outline. Faint, barely visible through the curling mist. A figure crouched among the leaves like a gargoyle. Its arms were long, its face hidden. When it moved, the tree didn't move with it. Elias stumbled back, slipped on a damp root, and fell. Mud soaked his hands, and his lantern dropped from his grasp, rolling a few feet away. The thing above didn't chase. It simply observed. He reached for the lantern and stood up, his eyes never leaving the figure. It whispered again, but not his name this time. Not alone. Never alone. He took a shaky breath. "What are you?" The fog pressed in tighter. The figure blinked out of view, not disappearing so much as becoming the fog itself, shifting and threading through it like a fish through water. Elias ran. The trees stretched taller now, unfamiliar, branches clawing overhead. He could barely see the path anymore, if there even was one. The fog didn't just hide the way. It created new ones. Paths that looped, twisted, led to the same gnarled tree again and again. Each time he passed it, he saw something different carved into the bark. A handprint. Then, the shape of an eye. Then, a wide breathe. He didn't know when the whispering had become constant, a low murmur beneath the sound of his frantic footsteps. At first it was just his name, then other names, then gibberish, then words he hadn't heard since childhood. His mother's lullaby, his father's old war story, Jacob's laugh. The fog wasn't just air. It was memory. It was watching him not like a hunter watches prey, but like a mirror watches its reflection. A soft light glowed ahead, and Elias ran toward it, desperate for anything solid. As he neared, the fog thinned just enough to reveal a clearing with an old wooden bench, damp with dew and age. On the bench sat a girl. She was maybe 13, wearing a yellow raincoat too big for her. Her hair was damp, stuck to her cheeks. She didn't look afraid. "You're Ellie," she said without looking at him. "Who are you?" Elias asked, panting, glancing behind him. The fog hadn't followed. Or maybe it had always been there. "I'm waiting for someone," she replied. "But it's not you. Are you lost?" She shook her head. "You are. Do you know how to get out?" "There's no out," she said. "Not for you. Not yet." He approached slowly, wary of the surreal calm she exuded. "What do you mean?" She finally looked up. Her eyes weren't natural. They were clouded over, silver-white, like the fog had settled inside them. "You're still dreaming." He stopped. "What?" "The fog comes when you're too close to remembering," she said. "It protects you from it." "From what?" She looked past him. "Them." He turned. Shapes stood at the edge of the clearing. Tall, thin, impossibly still. Their heads tilted at odd angles. He couldn't see their faces. Only outlines. Like holes burned into reality. The girl stood and began walking toward them. "Wait!" Elias called. "Where are you going?" She didn't answer. She walked straight into the fog and was gone. Elias stood alone in the clearing, surrounded. The figures didn't move, but their presence crowded in on him. He heard them inside his head, pressing into his thoughts like cold fingers. Asterisk asterisk, the key is in the forgetting. Asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk, you saw what you should not have. Asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk, return. Or become one of us. Asterisk asterisk. Elias closed his eyes. The whispers rose. He clutched his head. Then, silence. When he opened his eyes, the clearing was empty. The fog had receded slightly, just enough for him to see another path. This one felt older, worn by time, not by illusion. He stepped onto it. The air shifted. The whispers didn't vanish but became softer, less insistent. They no longer felt external. He walked for what felt like hours. Or minutes. Or both. Time was distorted here. Eventually, he saw a house in the distance, his cottage. But something was off. The windows were wrong. The shape unfamiliar. Still, it pulled him forward. As he stepped closer, he saw movement inside. A flickering shadow passed across the curtains. Then he heard it. A whisper, this time, unmistakably his own voice. "Welcome back." He touched the doorknob. It was warm. Inside, the air smelled of burnt wood and wet leaves. The fireplace crackled, though he hadn't lit it in days. The kettle whistled, steam coiling like tendrils. In the mirror above the hearth, his reflection stood still even as he moved. He stepped closer. His reflection smiled. It wasn't his smile. He backed away, heart pounding. The whispers flooded in again. Asterisk asterisk, take your place. Asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk, the fog remembers. Asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk, you cannot leave what you are. Asterisk asterisk. His hand reached out on its own. The mirror shimmered. The reflection stepped forward. The room shifted. The floor groaned. The fog spilled in through the cracks around the windows, seeping like blood. And then, a knock at the door. Not loud. Just one tap. Then silence. Then another. He turned slowly. The door creaked open. Jacob stood there. Older. Taller. Eyes dark and knowing. "You finally came back," Jacob said softly. Elias stepped forward, but his feet didn't move. "Is it real?" he asked. Jacob didn't answer. He only reached out his hand. Behind him, the fog waited, still and thick. Elias hesitated, then took his brother's hand. The cottage faded. The fog closed, and the whispers began again. The fog closed around Elias like a second skin. Damp. Cold. Intimate. Jacob's hand in his felt real. Too real. It was warm, with a faint pulse, as if time hadn't stolen him away 3 years ago. As they walked deeper into the mist, Elias glanced sideways. Jacob's expression was unreadable, his jaw tight, eyes forward, saying nothing. His presence was both comforting and terrifying. "Where are we going?" Elias asked, though his voice sounded muffled, like speaking underwater. Jacob didn't answer, not with words. Instead, the fog parted slightly ahead, revealing a path lit by faint, hovering orbs. They shimmered like ghostly fireflies, each pulsing with a pale blue glow. The trees bent toward the path like silent witnesses, their bark etched with symbols Elias couldn't recognize. Some shimmered briefly when he passed them, symbols that pulsed in rhythm with the whispers that had never truly stopped. One whisper seemed louder now, clearer. Not a word, a breath. It mirrored his own. He slowed, pulling Jacob's hand. "Stop. Just tell me. Is this a dream? Am I asleep? Jacob stopped too. He turned slowly, his eyes meeting Elias's. Not a dream, he said at last. Not fully. It's a threshold. To what? Jacob looked around, as if the trees might listen. You remember the night I disappeared? Of course I do. Elias's voice cracked. You dared me to sleep in the woods. I said no. You went alone. And you never came back. I did come back, Jacob whispered. You just didn't see me. What? I've been here, Jacob said, turning slowly and gesturing to the fog. In the whisper. That's what they call this place. It's between the waking and the gone. Gone where? Jacob's eyes grew distant. Where memories sleep. Where time folds. Elias took a step back. You're not making sense. Jacob smiled, but not with joy. Do you think I wanted to vanish? I just wanted to prove I was brave. I went too far. I crossed the line, Elias. I walked into a place that doesn't let you walk out. But you're here now. I'm part of it now. Elias shook his head. No. No, we can go back. The cottage. It was there. I saw it. That wasn't home. That was the whisper giving you what you wanted. It knew you were close to remembering. Remembering what? The truth. Jacob turned again and started walking. Elias followed, unable to do anything else. The path ahead narrowed, the trees pressing in until they formed a tunnel. And on the other side of the tunnel, a strange glimmer, like the sky was breaking. They stepped through and emerged into a new place. It looked like the lake where they used to fish with their grandfather. The dock, half-rotted, extended into calm, black water. But the sky above was wrong. No stars. Just a swirling mass of slow-moving clouds that shimmered like oil on water. There was no wind, no bugs, no sound at all. Except whispers. Thousands of them. And Elias now knew, those voices weren't coming from the fog. They were coming from the lake. Figures stood on the dock. Pale, translucent, barely visible. Not solid. Some faced the water, some faced the forest. None moved. They just were. Motionless. Waiting. Jacob stepped forward onto the dock. Elias hesitated. What is this place? Jacob looked back. This is where we all go if we stay too long. Stay too long. Jacob nodded toward the still figures. They were all people. Lost in the fog. Some trying to find others. Some trying to escape something in the waking world. Others, lured by the whisper itself. Lured! The fog offers you memories, Jacob said. But it keeps your soul. Elias's heart pounded. So why am I here? Why did it call me? Because you remembered. Elias looked down. Remembered what? Jacob's voice was soft. That you were with me. That night. Elias blinked. No, he said automatically. Yes, Jacob replied. You followed me after I dared you. You were scared, but you didn't want me to tease you. We went together. No. Elias took a step back. You don't remember falling into the ravine. Elias closed his eyes, and something cracked open. A sharp image. A flash. Running through the trees. Laughing. Tripping. Jacob yelling his name. Then, the scream. The fall. The stone. The blood. His own. His hand shot to his temple, and suddenly he could feel it. A faint ridge. A scar he'd never questioned. I hit my head, Elias whispered. Jacob nodded. And when you woke, you were alone. And I forgot. You forgot everything. Even that I was there. And the whisper saw your wound and helped you forget. Because it wants secrets. It feeds on broken memories. Elias stumbled forward, shaking. Then how are you still here? I chose to stay, Jacob said. At first, to wait for you. But later, I didn't know how to leave. This place pulls you in. The longer you stay, the less you remember why you wanted to go. Then let's go now, Elias begged. We can still leave. Jacob looked out at the lake. A single figure on the dock turned its head. It was their grandfather. His face looked worn, but calm. Then more of the figures began to move, one by one, all turning toward Elias. And they began to whisper his name. Soft, rhythmic, like a chant. Elias, Elias, Elias. Jacob reached for Elias's shoulder. This is your choice now. You can stay. You can forget. Or you can remember everything. Even what it cost. I want the truth, Elias said, shivering. All of it. The lake rippled. From its surface, a glowing light began to rise, small at first, then larger, forming into a sphere, pulsing like a heartbeat. Jacob took a step back. If you take the truth, the whisper will try to stop you. It wants you to stay a part of it. It will use every part of your past against you. The whispers grew louder, swelling around Elias like wind. Elias, you left him. You left him. Elias clenched his fists. No. I followed him. I fell. I woke up, bleeding, alone. The light from the lake moved faster now, circling him, drawing shadows from his past. Faces, memories, voices. His mother crying, his father yelling, Jacob's laughter, the smell of pine, the sound of sirens, and then his own voice, younger, terrified. Jacob, where are you? And silence. Elias sobbed, the memory fully alive now. He had waited in the woods for hours, concussed and lost, calling for Jacob until his voice broke. Then he had stumbled back home alone, dazed. The rescue parties had never found a trace of his brother. And the whole time, the whisper had hidden the truth, given him peace, made him forget. Enough, Elias said. The light hovered before him now, bright as a star, trembling. He reached out, touched it. Everything collapsed. The lake shattered like glass. The fog screamed. The figures on the dock disintegrated into smoke. And Elias felt himself falling, not physically, but inward, spiraling into memory, into pain, into truth. He saw it all. Jacob screaming as something in the fog dragged him back. Elias limping away, bleeding. The fog wrapping around him, whispering promises. You saw nothing. You are safe now. Forget. But now he remembered, and the whisper could not survive in truth. A violent rush of wind slammed into him. The forest twisted. Trees turned to ash. The fog thickened to a choking wall, and a figure emerged. Not Jacob. Not anyone human. It had no face, no form. Only a swirling mass of memory and smoke, stitched together with regret. It reached for him. Elias stood his ground. You're not real, he said. You're just made of everything I tried to forget. The creature shuddered. You cannot leave. I already left, Elias whispered. The moment I chose to remember. The world exploded into silence. And then, the sound of birds, leaves rustling in a breeze. Sunlight, real sunlight. Elias opened his eyes. He was lying in a field near the edge of the forest. Morning mist hung low, but it was clear. Golden. No fog. He sat up slowly. His clothes were damp, torn in places, but the scar on his temple throbbed warmly, like it had been burned clean. He turned. No Jacob, only the wind. But carved into a tree beside him was a single word, fresh as if cut that very morning. Asterisk asterisk brother. Asterisk asterisk. Elias bowed his head and wept. Not in pain, but in peace. Elias remained beneath the tree for a long while, letting the warmth of the new day soak into his skin. The wind gently stirred the grass, the early sun dancing across the dew-dropped blades like scattered diamonds. Birds chirped in the distance, real birds, not echoes or illusions. The world was no longer veiled in silver lies. And yet, the weight of truth sat deep in his chest like a stone. The word carved into the tree, asterisk asterisk brother asterisk asterisk, still glistened with sap. It hadn't been there the day before. His fingers brushed it, tracing the grooves. The letters were uneven, but familiar. Jacob's handwriting. A message not from the past, but from within the whisper itself. He stood, his legs unsteady. The world seemed so asterisk solid asterisk now, almost heavier. No more shadows dancing on the edge of his vision. No more whispers hiding in the corners of memory. But the silence left behind was immense. Elias began walking toward the cottage, the real one this time, still nestled at the forest's edge. The roof sagged slightly, ivy crawled over the stone walls, and the old wooden door creaked in protest when he opened it. Everything inside smelled like dust, pine, and time. No fire crackled in the hearth. No illusions danced in the mirrors. But it was home. He crossed to the kitchen and filled a glass of water from the pump. It tasted of iron and moss, but it was real. He drank deeply. On the mantel, he noticed an old photo, one he hadn't remembered owning. It showed him and Jacob as boys, standing barefoot in the woods, arms slung around each other, grinning. Jacob's eyes, so full of mischief and warmth, seemed to look straight into him. He took the photo and sat beside the cold fireplace. The whisper had taken so much, years, memories, the laughter of his brother, but it had given something too. The chance to face the past. To remember star. And that, Elias understood now, was its cruel kindness. It didn't consume its victims with fire or claws. It let them forget. It lulled them into comfort. And those who accepted it, who surrendered to the fog, were never truly heard from again. But Elias had chosen differently. He'd fought to remember. And now, with that weight, came the question that had no easy answer. What now? He stayed in the cottage for 3 more days. He cleaned, cooked, opened windows and let the real air in. Each night, he dreamed of the fog, but the dreams had changed. They no longer hunted him. They watched from afar, fading slowly. On the 4th morning, he woke before dawn, packed a small bag, and stepped outside. Before leaving, he walked back into the woods one final time. Not far, just to the place where the tree bore the word brother star. He brought a small pocket knife and carved 2 more words beneath it. I remember. Then he left. The town hadn't changed much. A few more stores, a few more strangers. But the bakery still smelled the same. The old man who ran the watch shop still sat by the window at noon. Elias walked through the streets like a ghost learning to live again. He went to the local sheriff's office. He told them everything. About the night he and Jacob went into the woods, about the fall, the concussion, the days of confusion and silence. He didn't speak of the fog, not directly. Some things couldn't be translated into logic, but he took them to the ravine. He showed them the scar on his head. He admitted the memory he had buried for so long. A search was conducted. For the first time in 3 years, real effort returned to a cold case. They found Jacob's backpack, buried beneath fallen leaves and weather. His watch, a rusted pocket knife. No bones, no body. But something had shifted. Elias stood by as they documented the findings. Something in his chest finally loosened. Not closure, but truth star. He spent the next year writing everything down. Not for others, for himself. The whisper had offered him forgetfulness like a gift wrapped in silk. But now, memory had become a sacred thing. Every small moment, Jacob's laugh, the shape of clouds, the sound of rain on the cottage roof, was something to be honored. He wrote the story of the fog, the path, the girl in the yellow raincoat, the dock by the lake. He never published it. But sometimes, he left copies in odd places, a library shelf, a cafe table, the back seat of a bus. Let others find it if they were meant to. Years passed. Elias grew older, slower, but his memory remained sharp. Every year, on the same date, he returned to the tree. The carving remained. Brother, I remember. One autumn, decades later, he returned again, his cane digging into the earth with each step. His hair had turned white. His hands trembled as he reached the tree. This time, there was something new beneath his own carving. 2 fresh words, cleanly etched, straight and sure. So do I. He smiled, tears in his eyes. The fog never came back. But in the quiet rustle of leaves, in the soft bend of trees in the wind, sometimes, if he listened very carefully, he could still hear a familiar voice, not haunting, not sorrowful, but filled with warmth. A whisper, not of forgetting, but of remembrance. Elias. And that was enough.